Hi guys, you're welcome to Web Technologies. We're still on Laravel for beginners. We'll be creating a blog template in Laravel 5.4 using the layout files. We're going to put the layout files into full action. I've explained what the layout file means in my previous tutorial, so we're going to actually be using it extensively in creating this blog template. Going to my browser, I have a demo, or let's say a template from the getbootstrap.com, which is actually a template that you can use to start up your blog. I have the nav, and this is the header. We also have the sidebar, and we have the content of the blogs. Now I'm going to actually integrate this into Laravel using layout structures. So we'll be using layout files, whereby we're going to actually break them down into different modules. We're going to have something like the folder that's actually going to handle the folder section over here. We have something like the master blade, which is like the controller of this particular template. We're going to have the nav that's going to actually house the nav. You can as well include the header with the nav. We're also going to have something called the sidebar. It's actually going to hold on to the right sidebar, the about and the archives. And we will be using the index, the blade, to actually call all these layouts. Without much ado, let's move straight to our project structure using bracket.io as the text editor. So I'll be creating some layout files and also some post files. So go straight to the resources. We have the views. Let me collapse this. In the views, I've already created some projects right there, the movies, musicians, the pages. I've used that in the previous tutorial. I'm going to actually create a new folder right here, where I'm going to call it layouts. And I'm going to create another folder. I'm going to call posts. So we're going to actually do that. Inside the layouts folder, I'm going to create a new file called folder.blade.php. That's actually going to hold on to our folder. In the layouts, I'm going to create another file called master.blade.php. Another file will be the nav.blade.php. I'm going to create another one where I'm going to call the sidebar.blade.php. That's fine. Right there in the posts folder, I'm going to create the index.blade.php. That's cool. So let's start out. Firstly, over here, I know the source of this particular template. I can get that from the developer session. I'm actually using Mozilla. You can as well use Chrome. The page source will actually show me the content of this particular web template. So I can just copy them out using Ctrl A to lift all and move back to the master.blade. That's the master controller. I paste it right inside there. So it's from here that I'll start to crop out different portions for different layout files. Firstly, it's going to be the nav. Over here, you can see this. I can as well crop out the header as well. Let me crop out the header so we can have the nav and the header together. Or let me just do it that way. Cut this out. I move to the nav, the blade.php. I paste that in there. I save it. Right in the master detail, I need to include this layout. So I go to write something of this nature: at include layouts.nav. Close it. You have it to save that. The nav has been handled well. So I'm still going to look at the content later on, but let's pick up the footer. We're going to pick this up to here, cut that out, move to the footer.blade, paste that in. You get how it works? That's just how it works. You save that to actually have something of this nature. That's fine. We'll move back to the master detail. That's the master. Save that. Now we need to include the footer. Do the @ include. We call on the layouts dot footer. I'll do it this way. Layouts dot footer. Just like this. Save that. We have the sidebar, which is here to here. So if you're still not clear of where it starts from, just click the last. You can notice that it actually picks it down there. So you cut that out. Move to the sidebar, the blade created. You paste that in. You get that? You save. You move back to the side, to the master detail, which is the master blade. You have to include that. Just add, include. Layout dot sidebar. Close that out, save that. Now here comes to our content of this particular web or blog template. If you notice, the main content starts from here down to this place. And let's get to look at the structure. It's actually housing 2 columns, so we get to actually do that as well. So let's go back to our editor. Now I'm going to do something quickly here. I'm going to actually cut these out, which is actually going to be right there. I'm going to cut it out before the end of the row. We have it. I want to be sure. Okay, over here before the end of the row. So we have it as up to this extent. So it sits here up to this extent. I'm going to cut it out just this way. From here, I'm going to move to the index.blade. So that's going to house the post. But before we just paste it in, we need to actually extend some things here. We need to extend the layout master master just this way, and now give a section. Call that content. Should be familiar with this. We've done this right there. And now you need to stop it. That's the closing. So right inside this content, that's where you paste in. Just this way. And give it a breathing space. Another breathing space. That's where you paste in the blog main. Save that. Right? You move back to the master blade. You need to yield the content. You know, since you've actually created a section called content, now you need to use the yield. Call the @ yield. Give it content. Just like this. Save that. So, but there's something very quickly. The CSS, the JavaScript, we also need to specify them accurately, or else there will be problem. We have the block CSS here. we have this is actually pointing to the blog modified CSS as well. We need to actually copy those two into the appropriate directory. So we are going to go back to the source. Firstly, we'll call the bootstrap main CSS. So I'm going to actually look at the content right inside there. Then see this is what it contains. So I'm going to actually copy this, move back to our editor. Now we're going to the public, where we have our CSS file, CSS folder. So now I'm going to create a new file called bootstrap.main.css. Inside here, I paste the minified version of the bootstrap. I save that. I move back to the master blade to point it correctly. Take away the these, just make it this way. Save that. Now we still need the blog CSS. We go back to the source. You click on the blog CSS, will give you the content. Copy that out as well. You move back. Now you create a new CSS file called blog.css. Inside there, you paste what's lifted. You save that. You move back to the master detail, which is the master. You need to specify it correctly. So you add /CSS just this way. Save that. That's cool. You've handled the header. Now let's look at the footer, because the footer will house the JavaScript. So looking at the footer over here, we're going to call on the first is we have a jQuery that calls from the web. That's cool. We won't need to add that. Also this. Now we need this also calls from the web. We just need the bootstrap minified JS. Just this one. This is what we need to sit in the JS file. We don't actually need any other one that much. So we can actually add this into the assets. So instead of it just being here, we just do like this. Let it be in the assets. Save that out. We go back to we come over here. Sorry, we take a step backward. Come downwards. This over here, the bootstrap minified JS. Copy that. Move back just to be on the safer side. That's why I'm doing all this. Now go. Let's collapse this. We have asset folder right in the resources, and we have the JS. So let's just create a new file called bootstrap. .minify the JS. Despite the fact that Laravel has the bootstrap, but just to be counter sure, that's the essence of this. You save that correctly. Let's go back to our master blade. Now we've actually specified all what we need. The CSS is pointing accurately. The blog is also pointing. In the body, we include the layouts.nav, which actually is this that houses the nav, the navigation, home, new features, press, and so on. We created the container that's the row, whereby we created two columns. The first, we yield the content from the index.blade, which is here, because this extends the layouts master. So we have to yield this content from there, which actually houses the post content, and back to the master blade. And we have the sidebar, which we actually includes, where we get all the sidebar content. And also the last one, which is the footer. where we include the footer over here. The layouts, that's footer, and we have the footer blade here as well. So everything is going to work successfully. But before we're going to show this, we need to create a controller and a view, and we need to create the routes as well. We have the views, we need to create a controller and the route. Let's get to look at the routes, the web.php. So we need to create a route here. Get. Now we're going to call on the posts, because that's where we extend the master blade. So that's cool. From here, let's create a posts controller that calls the index function. That's fine. Let's save it right there. Just this way, I'll be moving to my terminals to actually create this controller. So I'm actually in the Vagrant box. I've started up a Homestead server. I'm in the Vagrant box of this particular project. So now I'm going to actually issue out the PHP artisan make controller. What's the name of the controller we're making? You have to be in sync with this, called posts controller. Posts controller. Just this way. PHP artisan make controller post controller. Click enter. The controller is being created. So we get to look at the controller and direct to the appropriate view. Let me collapse all this so that we have a good looking file tree. That's cool. Go to the app controller. Let me refresh the file tree. Now we have the post controller. So we need to create a function. I have something of that nature here. And just pick this up and just make edits. Go to the post controller. Paste that. Now it's not going to call pages. It's going to call posts. And it's going to point to the index.play.php. Same thing over here. It's calling the index function. That's cool. Save that out. You're ready and you're set to go. So let's get to check, like a counter check on what we've done. Go to the master blade. Let's get to look at it. We include the layout, the nav. We yield the content. We include the layout. It should be a layout, not layout, because that's the folder. The folder it's layouts. And we include the layout, the folder. So save that. Let's get to look at all our layouts right in the resources, where we have the folder, the master blade, the nav. The folder should be folder.blade.php, not comma. That's why it's not actually showing the signs of HTML. That's cool. That's nice. So this when it comes up, and just some little trick here and there. The master.blade, the nav.blade.php, and even the sidebar.blade.php. That's fine. I think we have it set and ready. So let's go to our browser to actually launch that. So I'm going to call Homestead app/posts. Wow, we have the templates, the bootstrap blog, an example of the blog template built with bootstrap. Can you see that? We have the sidebar, we have the index that houses the content, we have the header and the nav all in one file, and also we have the folder also in one file. This is just how to use the layout files, and I implore you to actually understand how to actually use the layout file to use content, how to include a particular portion of a file or a portion of a web snippet. So you can see it's just the same thing with what we had earlier, just the same thing with this. So that's just it. Catch me up in the next tutorial where we'll get to talk about forms and how to actually use forms from this particular template structure. Thank you very much one more time, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. A lot of bumper packages are still right there in stock for you, and it's for your learning and for your use. Thank you once more. Have a blessed day. Bye bye.